race through your phone calls now because I haven't gotten into city governments, state governments, county governments announcing the police can't protect you. We're going to keep police on staff, but they're just there to write tickets. I mean, that's actually all over the news. There's big developments on the oil well front, and we'll talk about that as well. A lot coming up in the next hour. But I would ask callers, what do you think about the CNN host? In fact, I want to play that one more time. Just the very area of the clip where CNN host Rick Sanchez last night, yesterday with a CNN program, talking to a CIA officer, said that the bombings in Uganda are good and that it helps us understand how evil al-Qaeda is. And so if that's the case, so be it. And then we have all these other quotes by people in the military, newspaper reporters, saying how great 9/11 was and how we need another one. Well, I'm telling you, I've researched this, and we have links to it in the article. Most of this stuff ends up being government-sponsored, government-staged, and they're using it as a pretext to take your rights. Remember the MIAC and Homeland Security reports, where they're not worried about, turbaned-headed men 8,000 miles away. They're talking about you and your property and your guns because you are a constitutionalist. You are the enemy of these banks. They've taken over hundreds and hundreds of nations in the last century. Some nations over and over again, repeatedly. They're ruthless, and people better grow up and realize that. Let's go ahead and play this clip.
But you know what's interesting about this? In a strange way, the event is helpful to the cause of those of us who know how sadistic these fundamental radical Islamic terrorists are. And if it helps get the message out there that these are not the good guys, then so be it.
Then so be it. So I hope that some of the callers want to comment on that. Dave in New York, thanks for holding her on the air.
Good afternoon, Alex.
Welcome.
While I was on hold, I just thought of something that's probably kind of important. I was doing work for a guy up in Grafton a few years ago, and I always get into the stuff we talk about. And he told me that he was proud because his son is the one that came up with a theory of how Flight 800 went down, and that's the one they went with. So that's sort of like consensus for me, isn't it? He writes the best friggin' essay, so then they, turn it into a fact. Anyway, what I really want to talk to you about was next time you take a well-deserved vacation, if you could rebroadcast the lady you interviewed that talked about Oklahoma, the one that went to James Traficant.
Yes, in fact, Jane Graham was only on for 30 minutes, and I said I would reschedule her. And so we'll set her up for a full hour in the next few weeks. Guys, let's get Jane Graham back on.
The clarity of her was so profound. It was
no, she was there. She was the head of HUD on that floor. She saw McVeigh planting the bombs. She saw the black op people. I mean, and many other witnesses saw the same thing.
I'm old to this, but it made my jaw drop. If I could play that to somebody that never even would believe it, they would believe it. And the other thing is, when Bill Gates was in front of the globalists talking about reducing populations by inoculation, is that available on DVD or video?
You can just simply go to YouTube. It's TED TV, and you can search Bill Gates talks about reducing population, and you'll get him on a bunch of different TV programs doing it, including TED TV.
I have a Fred Flintstone computer, but would dial up.
I understand, but I mean, I would imagine you can contact TED TV. They're a big seminar, and I bet you can buy it on DVD.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your call. Again, we're going to go to break, and I'm going to come back and go to Matt, Jim, Kevin, Mike, and others. But what do you think of this news where it's Wall Street Journal, New York Times, CNN? Hey, the dollar's going to be replaced, and it deserves it. Do you blame the bankers, those great guys? Hey, we just sold roughly the entire gold supply that's produced in 1 year. And just on and on and on. I mean, everything's accelerating. One day of news is like 6 months of news 10 years ago. It's wild. All right, we're racing through your calls that always take us in interesting directions. And then at the bottom of the hour, I will blitz through news. And then if we have time, take a few more calls before that hour ends. Coming up, Fidel Castro has come out and said that he's afraid World War III is about to start. I want to go over his comments. They're announcing in Oakland that they're no longer going to respond to most crimes. And that's happening in many other areas of the country, and also the latest on the BP oil spill. But right now, let's go back to your calls. Matt in Minnesota, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex.
Welcome.
Hey, yeah, in regards to this Rick Sanchez thing on CNN, you know, I find it disgusting. It's just like when Glenn Beck said we got to shoot this POW in the head, and the guy in Fox and Friends saying the U.S. should use terrorism and car bombs in Iran. You know, the woman joking about assassinating Obama on Fox, and Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity saying over and over again that terrorism exists because, you know, they hate our freedom and liberty, women's rights. Like you've pointed out over and over again, I mean, the mainstream corporate media are the ones calling for violence, not Alex Jones, not InfoWars, not the Tea Party, not the Oath Keepers, not alternative media. It's the corporate media. They're the ones always calling for violence.
They're calling, I mean, remember 4 years ago, headlines where the Bush administration leaked the report that they were going to use hundreds of, quote, mini nukes, and they called it a nuclear war that's not nuclear, to hit all the military sites in Iran, and people were cheerleading that. I mean, regardless, here's an example. Israel 3 years ago in Lebanon used tons, and I mean, calculated out tons and tons. You can pull up the exact number if you want. In fact, search engine guys, the amount of DU used in Israeli-Lebanon war. But the point is they use masses of DU munitions, and the winds tend to blow from the west to the east and from the north to the south in Israel. Those are the prevailing winds. And so that DU blew right back into Israel. You get one whiff of it, you're going to get lung cancer a year, 5 years, 10 years. I've had the former head of the Pentagon DU program on. I mean, this stuff, you get one whiff of this, you are deader than a doornail. And even if Israel wants to kill all the Lebanese Muslims, what are they doing bombing areas that are going to kill Lebanese Christians? And I'm not saying kill anybody. The point is it's killing Lebanese Jews, Christians, Arabs. It's wrong. I mean, these are weapons that are not smart at all. They're the dumbest weapons in history. And Israel now has been using it in Gaza. Well, where is Gaza? It's on the Mediterranean, right up against Egypt. Here's Israel. The jet stream blows right across major Israeli cities with the DU they used in Gaza. I mean, that's an even better example. This is lunatic land. And we get demonized for using the Culpeper Don't Tread on Me flag in the media. But then meanwhile, they're constantly promoting violence. That's a really good point. Anything else?
Yeah, you know, it just, I mean, like what the UN and United States sanctions in Iraq that, you know, killed some 500,000 people, and, you know, the new war where 1 million people are dead. I mean, I don't know how much is enough. I mean, how many people do they want killed in these wars? The fact of the matter is that, I mean, a majority of the Americans, I mean, not that they're just in a trance, but they're just dehumanized. I mean, people don't care about free humanity. They don't care about their species at all.
Well, there's a stack of news I'm going to cover at the bottom of the hour that details that. And this is just what was in the stack today, where, again, another major government report admitting that aspartame causes women to abort their babies and have miscarriages and have low birth weights. Well, they knew that with the rhesus monkeys and the green monkeys and other monkeys that they tested it on in the 70s. I mean, they know this. That's why it's put in there. It's a cold-blooded, I've got the White House science czar saying we need to do stuff like this. I mean, these people are monsters. There's a bunch of psychopathic, control-freak chicken necks assaulting all of us with soft-kill, creepy weapons that these cowards use so red-blooded people don't know what hit them.